The USC Trojans have a huge statement game this weekend at Michigan to kick off their Big Ten portion of the schedule. They're here, they're in the conference now, and they're for real. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The Trojans, it's their time. They're announcing their arrival to the Big Ten with a game in the Big House this weekend. Plus, we have the latest Big Ten news, plus biggest party schools in the country. Plus, we have a shakeup in our weekly Big Ten power rankings. All that coming up right here on this episode. The USC Trojans have long been a flashy team from the Pac-12. People in Big Ten country or much of college football, you know, that's what they say about them, and that's nice. But the Pac-12, it's kind of all about quarterbacks and high-scoring offenses, a little bit of finesse, and that they really didn't care about defense, right? Now, Pac-12 teams, they were never really good enough to make the playoffs in the 14 playoff system we had for the most part. It went on and on, a lot of criticism for the Pac-12, but things have changed. Saturday, the USC Trojans make their Big Ten debut in a conference game versus Michigan in the Big House on national TV. They still have a nice quarterback that can be flashy, and they still have a powerful, flashy, fast offense that could put a lot of points on the scoreboard. But they got a much improved defense. Make no mistake about it. USC is coming to the Big House to win this game and make a statement to the rest of the Big Ten that they're here and they belong. That's what they're saying to everybody. And that we're not going to take a back seat to anybody. And we're going to have to be dealt with. Fight on. That's what they're saying. Now, this game could not come at a worse time for Michigan. Last year's perfect season is far back in the rearview mirror. And while their reputed running game showed a few signs of coming back to life last weekend against Arkansas State, their passing game's a mess. They've thrown 6 interceptions in 3 games. Sherrone Moore announced that Alix Orji will be the starting quarterback instead of Davis Warren, who had been starting the first 3 games. Plus, the Wolverines have no speedy deep threat at all. That's in stark contrast to what USC is bringing to Ann Arbor. They have a sure-handed quarterback in Miller Moss, and he had been waiting in the wings behind Heisman Trophy winner and number 1 NFL draft pick Caleb Williams. Moss came on the scene last year, as you remember, when he made his first career start in the Holiday Bowl. And just happened to throw 6 touchdown passes. That got a lot of people's attention, including Lincoln Riley. Now, he hasn't come close to duplicating that yet in the Trojans' first few games this season. We did see him on a national stage beat LSU. That was a pretty impressive. That was a fun game, actually, on that Sunday night. And he threw for 378 yards and a touchdown in that game. The following week, he threw another touchdown pass in a win over Utah State, 48-0. It's the nothing I want to talk to you about. I know Utah State is not on the same level as USC, but shutouts are hard. They are. That's why even the worst teams against the best teams, they'll get a field goal off, maybe a couple, maybe a lone touchdown. Shutouts are hard to get. And the improved USC defense may be a problem for Michigan's stagnant offense at this point. But I'm not done talking about the USC offense. I mentioned Miller Moss, a quarterback. He's got a plethora of weapons to choose from. That's right. I use the word plethora a lot. They're 6 deep at wide receiver. Teams like Michigan and Penn State and Iowa will be thrilled to just be 1 deep or 2 deep at wide receiver. I'm not kidding. USC is 6 deep. Kyron Hudson, 6'1". He's like Odell Beckham Jr. with these one-handed catches that he makes. You've got really tall, lengthy receivers, big targets in 6'4" Jacoby Lane, 6'6" Deuce Robinson. You also have guys like Kyle Ford, Zachariah Branch, who's a speedster. Makai Lemon, they're all speedsters, and they make your head spin trying to chase them all across the field. Secondary for Michigan is going to be busy. I haven't even mentioned their 6'4", 250-pound tight end, Lake McCree. He's actually their leading receiver after 2 games. There's going to be a lot for Wink Martindale to deal with for the Michigan Wolverines here. It could be a long, long day for them back there in the secondary. So Michigan fans should be worried if USC jumps out to a big lead. This could be a carbon copy of the Texas game 2 weeks ago. Michigan's not built to come from behind with big deficits. They're just not. Oh, and did I mention that USC is coming off a bye week where Lincoln Riley, the offensive guru, has had 2 weeks to prepare for Michigan's defense. That's not good for the Wolverines. Very good for the Trojans. Saturday will be the 11th meeting between these two schools. The last time they met was back in 2006 in the Rose Bowl, where the Trojans won that game 32-18. The last time these two met in a regular season game was the season opener back in 1958. Michigan won that game 20-19. This game will be important for both schools. UCLA has got a brutal, or USC rather, has got a brutal schedule. And they still have dates with Penn State and Nebraska, the non-conference game with Notre Dame. That's just mentioning a few. They already checked the box with the LSU game, so they're off to a good start so far. As far as Michigan goes, they got the national championship rematch against Washington. They got a date with Oregon and, of course, Ohio State. Plus, there's a handful of other Big Ten games on their schedule that are going to be a bit more challenging than in the past. I think if you look at the odds at a game like Michigan and Indiana, which Michigan would usually win, I think Vegas has that as a pick 'em right now, going down the wire. And Indiana's every bit as good as Michigan. Michigan's come down, Indiana's gone up. And they're going to have a lot of games like that in their schedule where it could go either way, in addition to the tough ones. But by the way, don't forget, we are going to go live here like we do on Saturdays all the time on our Locked On Big Ten YouTube channel right after the USC Michigan game for immediate reaction from me and from you, because we always take your comments on that as well on YouTube. Again, the game is a kickoff. It's normally when we go live, it's been after the late night NBC game at 7:30, and we come on around 11 o'clock Eastern. Going to be earlier this week since the USC Michigan game is at 3:30 Eastern on CBS, and that's 12:30 Pacific time. So we're going to come on as soon as that game's over, probably going to be around 6:45 or 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, or 3:45, 4 o'clock-ish Pacific time right after that game. So we'd like to catch you all. East Coast, West Coast, doesn't matter. Going to be going live. So make a note of it. Make a little, set your little alarm in your iPhone or your calendar and Outlook, whatever the case is. Remember, we're going to be going live Saturday, just a little earlier than normal. We'd love to have you on board watching and giving me your comments on that game as well. All right, couple of things I want to tell you. If you're new here, particularly maybe you're a new USC Trojan fan, you didn't know we were out here, Locked On Big Ten every day. Thank you for finding us. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe. It's free. It's always free. It's not like a trial free and then you pay later. Nope, it's always free. Subscribe. And then we always ask you to share, because I know you know a Big Ten fan or family member that maybe doesn't know we're out here every day. So subscribe and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. We also have a website. You see the crawl on the bottom if you're watching on video, talkbig10.com. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there. We do them chronologically. You can go back and catch yesterday's if you missed it, for example. Talk about the Oregon Ducks, whatever. We're always talking about something every day. And then we also group it. If we are focusing on one particular school, we also have a page for each school. Like we talked about USC starting off. This will go under USC. While you're there, you can also get merchandise for your favorite team at talkbig10.com. Shirts, hats, pennants, coffee mugs, it's all right there. Talkbig10.com. All right, coming up, we've got an update for you on a couple of things. We talked about the Michigan quarterback situation, right? Well, there's another quarterback out there, Jack Tuttle. What is the deal with Jack Tuttle? He's dressing. He's come back from injury. He's not playing. We do have an update. We have our Big Ten award winners from the week, and we found out how many Big Ten schools made a top party school list. This is legit. This is like in the Wall Street Journal. So we'll have that coming up for you, and we'll have our power rankings. I mixed it up a little bit this week. See where your favorite school is on our Big Ten power rankings in our final segment today. All right here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel makes sports that we already love even more fun. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, got a little something different for you here. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to download America's #1 sports book. Tonight, Wednesday night, baseball. I like the Diamondbacks over the Rockies and the over on the runs scored in that game. I like the Orioles over the Giants, the Braves over the Reds, and the under on the score for the Tigers and the Royals. Again, FanDuel.com. Check them out. FanDuel.com/locked-on and download America's #1 sportsbook. Also, I want to tell you about Game Time. This is a great app where you can get tickets to anything. You want to go to a Big Ten game and see your favorite team? It's there. You want to go to a local concert in your neighborhood? It's there at Game Time. You want to go to a comedy show? You got the tickets with Game Time. It's an app on your phone, couple of clicks, and you're there. You can even see a picture of the view of the seat for the ticket you're about to buy. They've got great prices out there, lowest price guarantee. In fact, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You find another price somewhere else. Take the guesswork out of buying concert or football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe, share, and follow and like Locked On Big Ten. You can follow that Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. I say your teams every day. We cover all 18 of them right here. And don't forget our website, Talk Big Ten, #10, talkbig10.com. Now, one more note on the Michigan quarterback situation. As we know, Davis Warren will be replaced by Alix Orji as the team's starter this weekend against USC. Davis will be the #2. What about Jack Tuttle? We've talked about him a lot. 7-year veteran. What's going on? Coming back from an injury. Sherrone Moore addressed this question in an interview this week. He said that Tuttle is actually having a few minor setbacks recovering from this injury that's been lingering. He's been throwing at practice. He's dressed the last 2 games, but he's been listed as questionable, but still having setbacks recovering from an injury that Moore and Michigan have not been real publicly open about. However, we do know that Tuttle had an elbow injury last year, so we presume that's it. Moore says that Tuttle's playing future is totally up to the medical staff right now. So hands in the air, he doesn't know. Whatever the medical staff says, they'll let him know if he's available. All right, a lot of shout-outs here. Let's do some shout-outs to the awards around the Big Ten. Offensive Player of the Week for this past weekend. Indiana quarterback Curtis Rourke. Nice job. Threw for 307 yards and 4 touchdowns on the road in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. He was 9 for 9 on 3rd down as the Hoosiers blew out the Bruins 42-13. It was spectacular. It was the largest margin of victory for IU in a Big Ten road game since 2001, 23 years ago. Defensive Player of the Week, Maryland defensive back Dante Trader Jr. He tied a career high with 11 tackles in the Terps' win over Virginia. The Terps defense held the Cavaliers to 0 points and 82 total yards in the second half. Way to clamp down there. And he also picked off a pass for his 5th career interception. Congratulations to him. Now, for 2 weeks in a row, an Oregon player has been named the Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week. Last week, it was Tez Johnson for scoring on a punt return versus Boise State. This week, the honor goes to their kicker, Atticus Sappington, one of my favorite names in the Big Ten, Atticus Sappington. who, by the way, kicked the game-winning field goal versus Boise State, but he made 2 field goals, both of them, and 5 extra points, 5 for 5, and also had 5 touchbacks on kickoffs to help the Ducks beat Oregon State this weekend. So congratulations to him. And we always like to keep an eye on the up-and-coming stars. The Freshman of the Week award goes to Minnesota and defensive back Kerry Brown out of Naples, Florida. He got his first 2 career interceptions in the Gophers' 27-0 shutout over Nevada. He is the first Gophers freshman since 1990 to have multiple interceptions in a game. Seems like we're always talking about Freshman of the Week from Minnesota last year and this year. So PJ Fleck must be recruiting well. I know some people are frustrated they aren't getting any wins. We'll see what happens this year with Max Brosmer at quarterback there. And by the way, here's another honor, sort of. Michigan State and the University of Wisconsin. Guess what they did? They ranked among the top 10 party schools in the United States, according to the Wall Street Journal. They did a little collaboration with a research firm called College Pulse. So here's your list. Number one, the number 1 party school in America apparently is Tulane over there in Louisiana. Dayton, the Flyers out of Ohio at number 2. Florida State is number 3. Of course, they got to party a lot to keep their minds off of their football team, which is 0-3. Michigan State comes in at number 4. Sparty, way to go. Alabama at number 5. Wisconsin, who just lost to Alabama this weekend, comes in at number 6. I believe that. A lot of good beer drinking up there in Wisconsin. Miami of Ohio makes the list. And the second Ohio school we've mentioned. West Virginia, South Carolina at number 9. I used to live in the state of South Carolina. I don't doubt that for a minute. And Sewanee, the University of the South in Tennessee, rounding out the top 10 party schools. This is printed in the Wall Street Journal. Absolutely legit. By the way, others receiving votes, if you will. Iowa came in 13th and Illinois came in 16th. Big Ten party schools. How about that? All right, as long as we're ranking things, we've got, in just a minute, I'm going to have our weekly Big Ten football power rankings, the standings as we think they should be. And if you're new to our podcast, in our third and final segment, each and every day, we always leave you with a benchmark feature. Mondays is my top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. Tuesdays are our Tuesday tweets. Wednesday, we do the power rankings. Thursday, tomorrow, we'll take a look at the Big Ten Network schedule over the weekend with their Big Ten Classics and Big Ten Live action as well. And then we close it out with Pigskin Picks on Friday. Got a lot of point spreads ready to go. A lot of excitement. So we'll have the power rankings. Find out where your favorite team is. That's next right here. Don't go anywhere on Locked On Big Ten. Hey, Big Ten fans, I want to tell you about Roy. Have you heard of this? Roy stands for Return on You. It's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL, name, image, and likeness. Like you could financially support your favorite athletes and keep your school, keep it rolling. As other schools try to steal your players with more NIL money, you can actually help out and do something about it and support players directly to help shape your team's rosters and retain talent. How about that? Here's how it's different. It directly supports the players. They have exclusive content access for you and your favorite player. There's no risk contributions, and you can engage with athletes in their NIL journey. It is really cool. All right. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter the referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into the sweepstakes where you could win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com, and you got additional details there. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Again, get the Roy app for iOS or Android. Start making an impact on your favorite team. Use the referral code Locked On for an opportunity to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for more details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. All right, it is time for our power rankings. Let's do this. If you're not on video, if you're listening on audio only, that's fine. I'll describe it in detail here, but I'm going to put it on screen for everybody to check out. And we'll do all 18 teams. We'll put up the The top 10 first. Here's what we think. Obviously, Ohio State is still the best team in the Big Ten until proven otherwise. Penn State coming off a bye. Don't forget them because, bye week, getting things dialed in a little bit there for James Franklin. The USC Trojans on the rise. They're going to get a lot of attention this week. They're a good football team. They're improved defense. We spent the first part of this podcast talking about it, and they're going to get a lot of attention going to the big house, taking on Michigan this weekend. And it'll be a great game. Great game visually. Michigan's doing the stripe out instead of the maze out, doing the stripe out. USC's coming in there with, I think, something to prove. I've got Oregon at number 4. I had them at number 2 earlier. I was a little scared by their first 2 games where they weren't covering because they were barely winning against teams they're supposed to blow out. It looks like they fixed their problems. Again, we did a podcast on Oregon yesterday. If you're a Ducks fan, go check it out. TalkBig10.com. That's where our podcasts all go. Got Oregon at number 4. We can move them up higher soon as they seem to fix the problems against Oregon State. They got a bye week too to kind of rest up here this week. Nebraska at number 5, and this is a hot team right now. Don't forget, Nebraska 5, Illinois 6. They play each other Friday night. Catch that one. That's a big one. At number 7, I got Michigan hanging on. Can they turn it around? They're dropping. I got the Indiana Hoosiers at number 8. How about that? That was an impressive win over UCLA on the road at the Rose Bowl, nationally televised game. They didn't do much wrong in that game. That looked like a really well-coached team for Curt Cignetti and company. Got Rutgers sitting there at number 9 and Iowa holding on to the top 10. All right. Again, Indiana still has to play Michigan and whatnot, but in Ohio State, but Rutgers and Iowa, very favorable schedule where they could rack up some wins moving forward. So we'll keep an eye on them. All right, here's the best of the rest. Got Washington coming off the loss in the Apple Cup to Washington State. That was unfortunate. They got a big game against Michigan. One of these 2 teams is going to figure things out. Coming up, Michigan next couple weeks, right? And we're looking forward to that one, a rematch of the national championship. Michigan State, they're looking like they're improving quickly. They may be moving up our charts. They did here this week, maybe a little faster throughout the season at number 12. Wisconsin dropping to number 13. I didn't think they looked that great before the Alabama game, and then Tyler Van Dyke gets hurt. Now we'll see what direction they go in. They just don't look like they've gotten it together yet, and now they have to change quarterbacks. Maryland at number 14. Minnesota back-to-back shutouts at number 15. They haven't been great teams that they played, so we'll see when they get in the meat of the schedule. In fact, Minnesota and Iowa playing this week. Got Northwestern at number 16. Purdue's not been off to a great start, and then they had Notre Dame come in fresh off of that loss. The Notre Dame loss to Northern Illinois. They were mad coming into West Lafayette. They put that beat down on the Boilermakers 66-7. And then UCLA, again, I referenced the Indiana game last weekend. They just look like they don't have it going on. I don't know. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a bit of a rebuild for the UCLA Bruins, I think. So there you have it. Those are how we rank them, 1 through 18 in our weekly power rankings. Let me know what you think. Hit me up with a comment. I'm always looking for comments either on Twitter, at X, at Talk Big Ten, number 10. Also comments on YouTube as well. I particularly like it when the rivals fan bases go at it back and forth. I find it's amusing. You guys seem to like it, and it really helps out our podcast. So go ahead and do it. Hit me up with the comments on YouTube. And then if you want to hit us up on our website, Talk Big Ten. If you're on video, you can see the crawl on the bottom. TalkBig10.com. All of our podcasts go there. You can get merchandise, and you can hit me up directly with an email there as well. So we're there for you each and every day. All right. So those are the ways you can get a hold of us as we've made it through the middle of another week. Can't wait for week 4 coming up. We'll take a look at that Nebraska-Illinois game that's Friday night on tomorrow's podcast. Kind of do a deep dive on that. So tell your friends, Fighting Illini and Cornhusker fans out there. Before you go, be sure to subscribe for free. Subscribe and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, wherever you get your podcast at your favorite podcast app. Always appreciate that. But you can subscribe right here on YouTube if you're on the video. And you'll get the latest episode of this podcast, Locked On Big Ten, as soon as it's available each and every day. Audio and video versions come out at 6 a.m. Eastern every day on the East Coast. Of course, 3 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. Check out another episode after this one from our website, talkbig10.com. Check out the ones we did earlier this week. And maybe for a second listen, I invite you to join our friends at Locked On College Football. They have a podcast too. And it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That'll do it. Thanks for joining us. I already can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Get ready to talk about those Huskers and the Fighting Illini and Friday Night Lights and more on the weekend games. We got you covered right here. Thanks for joining us. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten. Talk to you next time.